Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Monolith Mondays. My name is Megan. I'm the marketing manager here at Monolith Forensics. And if you haven't joined us for Monolith Mondays before, what this is every Monday at 10 a.m. Central, somebody from the Monolith team is going to walk through a particular feature inside of Monolith live for you. And if you have any questions, we're happy to answer those live for you. So for today's session, I am actually going to be the one walking you through a feature. We're going to be talking about the notes system inside of Monolith. So if you could do me a favor, we will save time for questions at the end. So if you have questions during the presentation that come up, just pop them in the chat and I'll make sure we get to them as we finish. Okay, so without further ado, let me share my screen here. Okay. Okay, so I've now opened up Monolith. I'm inside my case, Project MM here. And I've just made a quick agenda just to walk through what we're going to cover today. So we're going to cover types of notes inside of Monolith, how to create a new note, styling controls and slash commands, how to add images to notes, the left-hand sidebar controls, notes version history, templates, how to export a note, and then, as I said too, we'll have time for questions at the end. So first things first, let me close out of this for a minute. So notes can be accessed by coming into any of your cases and clicking on the Notes tab here. And by default, you're going to see this little shortcut window here. So we have a couple of options. We can create a new note, a new folder, search our existing notes, toggle the editor toolbar, make this full screen. And something I particularly want to point out to you is we do have note system instructions. So anytime you need instructions for how to use this feature, we do have that actually built in. You can see all of that information here. So in Monolith, we have a couple of levels of notes. So we have case notes, and we also have evidence notes. So if I click into my evidence item tab here, here at the top, you can see we have an option for notes here as well. And I've got a note already created for this particular evidence item. And then we also have notes that can be associated to tasks. So if I click over here, this is a task that I have inside this same case, and I can click over to the Notes tab, and you can see I have a note here as well. So to create a new note, there's a couple of places you can do that. You can click New Note here. You could also click it here in the left-hand sidebar. I'm just going to go ahead and click it here at the top. And here, if we want to rename this something, we can. Megan's new note. And then inside the note, we can just start typing, and it works pretty much like any word processor that you're already familiar with using. So let's say this is my note. How cool. And a couple of things we can do here to make this kind of look pretty. So as you can see at the top, this is what we call the editor toolbar. And this has a bunch of adjustments we can make to the text. So just walking through this toolbar here. This button here lets you change the font. So we have a couple of other font options for you. So you can change it to one of these if you prefer. These arrows are undo and redo. So if I want to undo typing, I can click this. If I want to put that back, I can click the redo. We can also change the color of the text. So if I highlight this text, for example, and then click color, we have some color options here. So let's say I want to make this particular text really stand out. I can change it to yellow, and now it is very prominent in that yellow color. Just keep in mind that it will stay that color with your cursor as I continue to type. So if there's only a couple of things you want to highlight with a different color, just make sure to change it back to whatever your standard color is after that. And then everything else we have up here is pretty straightforward. You can bold, italic, underline, strike through. And we also can make headers. So if this, let's say, we got a little style crazy here. So next, if we wanted to add a header, we can add heading. Let's say this is my section title, and we've got a couple of layers of header controls. So let's say I have a subheader I wanted to add here. I could click H2, and that just helps us create kind of visual hierarchy inside of the note. We can also add bullet points. So if you need just regular standard bullet points, that's this button here. One. If you would prefer a numbered list, we have numbered as well. Step 1, step 2, step 3. And then over here is the justification. So we can make everything be left aligned, centered, right aligned, or justified. And you may have noticed too as I was playing around in here, but if you were to highlight some text, it is going to pop up some additional controls here. So you can also change the font, or not font, add some text styling here, change color, bold italic, and all that kind of fun stuff as well. All right, let me check my agenda here. Okay, we've covered that, covered that. Now for the most fun part of notes, to me anyway, which is slash commands. Let me move this down a little bit so we have some room to work with here. So you can see Monolith is saying you can press the / button to open up commands. And if we press that, it's going to open up a bunch of text. So if we had been writing in a heading, for example, we want to switch back to text, we can toggle through here. If we wanted to apply formatting quickly without having to click the toggle editor in the top, we can add heading here. And the really cool things we can do here is add a timestamp. So instead of having to manually type the date and time, as well as, instead of having to type the date or time here, we can just do /time, and that will put up the current timestamp. If you only want the date, you don't want the time, we do have a / command for that as well. It's /date, and that will add that quickly for you. And the other thing we can do with / commands is add images. So let's say I have an image I want to upload to my notes in line, so like a screenshot, for example. If you type /image, it's going to open up this image / command for you. I'll go ahead and click on that. And let's say I want to put the screenshot in here. And that's going to add it in line to my note. And this is really helpful too, because then when you go to export it, export and add notes to a report, it's actually going to bring those images in for you as well. So pretty handy. You can also drag and drop images into this. Let me see if I might break my share temporarily. One moment. Okay. So you can also drag and drop images in here as well. So that is how to add images and how the / commands work. Let me come back to my agenda here. Images, left-hand sidebar. Okay. So over here on the left-hand side, you can see all the notes that I've created. So they're kind of organized by, you'll be able to see created case notes, evidence notes, and task notes. And you can open these carets, and if you have folders created, so let's say I wanted to create a new folder inside my case note, and we'll just call this Monolith Monday Examples. So we can create folders as well as notes in here. And if I wanted to move notes into that folder, you can actually click and drag to drop them in there. And then this button here is just to create a new note as well. So you can always create a new note from the sidebar as well as creating it from that main screen that we showed earlier. Something I do want to point out to you too is this is going to default to your notes. But if you have other users assigned on this case, I think I'm the only user assigned on this case. But if you had other users assigned to this case within your monolith tenant, you'd be able to view their notes by clicking on user notes, and that's going to show that are all the notes that have been created in that case by any user who is assigned to that case. Next thing we have here in the left-hand sidebar is the full screen button. So that just makes your notes take up kind of your whole page, so a better focused view for you to work in there. Next, we have this little folder structure. So if you would prefer to view everything kind of like in a list view, you can click that button and you'll be able to see all your notes in a list. And then if you want to go back to the folder view, you can click this and it'll take you back to the folder view. Next, we have sorting. So if you had, like 100 notes in this case, for example, if you wanted to sort them so they're a little bit easier to kind of navigate, you can click this button here. And we have a few options to sort. You can sort by note name, when it was updated most recently, stuff that was updated in the past, and then by created on date as well. Next thing we have is the notes search feature. So if I click this little hourglass icon, let's say I'm looking for my task note that is about a drone. I can type drone here, and Monolith's going to pop up any notes where it finds that particular word you're searching for. So I could click this, for example, and that's going to open up that particular note for me. And then to close the search, make sure to click the hourglass again, because otherwise it will stay, as you click around and continue working, the search will stay up. So just keep that in mind. And next to that, these three dots, we have a couple of other options. So toggle editor toolbar, all that does is turn off our controls at the top of the notes. So you can see now my editor controls are gone. And if I want to put them back, I just have to click this again. And then here we can also access some export options. So as you can see, notes, you can have multiple notes open in different tabs. So if I were to create a new note also, it's just going to open it in another tab. So if you have several notes that are related to each other and you want to export all of those into like one PDF or a Word document, you are able to do that. So if you click these three dots, and then we can export, and we can select current tabs or all the notes. So let me just do current tabs. It's going to download for a moment. Let me open this up for you. Okay, so these are, oh, you probably can't see that. Let me quickly switch to my PDF export just so you can see what that looks like. Okay, so this is what exported when I did that. So you can see now I have my drone acquisition notes with my image. It's kept all of the styling. It's got information about the created on date, updated date, what case it's linked to, and all of that kind of fun information. All right, let me bring back Monolith here. One moment. Okay, so that about covers left-hand sidebar. Let me go back to my agenda. Kind of going through this at lightning speed, so I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, so next thing we have is version history. So this is actually pretty cool. So on any particular note, if you click on this actions button, you'll see an option for version history. So if we click this, over here on the right-hand side, you can see all the versions that Monolith has auto-saved for this particular note. Let me actually do this with a note that's not my agenda, so I don't break that. Let's click on. Let's do this guy. Okay, so I'm going back to my version history. Okay, so you can see all the version history here. Let's say I wanted to go back to one of these earlier versions. So I can actually click this. Well, a little bit of a not helpful version to restore to, but you get the idea. This is really just for illustrative purposes. But if I wanted this note to go back to this version, I can click this Restore this version button. And Monolith's going to alert me. Yes, this is going to replace all the content. And I'm going to click Restore. And now you can see it has reverted back to that previous version. So that's helpful if you, for some reason, need to go back to an older version of a note or you want to kind of see the changes that have been made over time. Um, really handy feature there. And version history can also be accessed from these three dots up here. Oh, that is apparently not true. So for version history, under the Actions button. And let's check the agenda. Note templates. Okay, so note templates are a really cool feature that we have in here. Delete this. This can also be found under the Actions tab. So let's say somebody on our team has already created a template that we want to use as a basis for what we're working on. Well, we can come to this Insert Template, and let's say we want this IR scoping notes. If we click it, Monolith's going to apply whatever is saved in that template to whatever note we're currently working in. So really helpful, especially if you have standardized kind of styling, or for, like in this example, if you have like a template report of information that you need, it's just a really easy way to add that to your notes. And if you wanted to save a template, you can also do that from the Actions tab. So if I click Actions, you can click Save as Template. I'm just going to call this Megan's Note Templates. And what shared means is that's going to share it with everybody in your monolith tenant, like other users in your monolith. But if you leave this unchecked, that means it's just a note template for you. So I'm just going to go ahead and share this with everybody and click Create Template. And now if I open up a new note here, let's say I want to put that note template in, I can come to Actions, Insert Template, and add Megan's note template. Okay, let's check the agenda again. Templates, exporting, we've already talked about that a little bit. Just want you to be aware that you can also export notes from this Actions tab. This will just export whatever note you currently have selected, so that's something to be aware of. If you ever want to export all your notes or multiple notes, do it from these three dots over here at the top left. And you can also export notes to Microsoft Word as well. And that is all that I have for you. Let me temporarily pause my share. Don't see anything in the chat. Let's check the Q&A. Q&A. Okay. First we have, if anybody has questions, please drop them in the Q&A or the webinar chat. If you'd like to come on microphone and ask a question, I'm happy to bring you on and have you ask. Just raise your hand and I'll give you access to turn on your microphone. I do see a couple of things in the Q&A from Garrett. It would be nice to have checkboxes when dealing with a list of things to do. That is a good note. And the ability to create note templates shareable across the agency. This would be a huge help when developing templates for various things we can do. Okay, So Garrett, the checkboxes is an interesting idea. That might be something good to submit to our features request email, features-requests at monolithforensics.com, and see if we could get that added. We are able to create note templates from within Monolith. Let me share my Monolith again. So you can create note templates by clicking on the Actions tab and saving, well, you'd have to build out your note in the way that you want it organized with styling, whatever text you want, etc. And then if you click Actions, you'll be able to save it as a template there. And if you click Share, that is going to go ahead and share it with everybody who has access to Monolith within your agency. Okay, next question from Jason. Is there a way to change the line spacing? Not that I'm aware of. That's also a good candidate for feature request, though. Let me put the feature request email into the chat. Come. Okay, Q&A. I would like to see version history in the reports section when drafting reports in the summary analysis fields. That's a good note too, Garrett. That might also be a good candidate for the feature requests email as well. Does anybody have other questions? I'm aware I talk really fast, so if you want me to show you something again, I'm happy to do that as well. Just drop it in the chat since we have a few extra minutes here. Going once, going twice. All right. Well, thanks everybody for coming today. I was really excited to share the notes feature with you. We're going to be doing another one of these next week. Again, it's at 10 a.m. Central. It'll be live, and our software engineer Spencer will be covering the task system inside of Monolith. So, hope to see you there. If you have any questions or need anything in the meantime, you can always reach out to us here at Monolith. Um, you can reach out to me, Megan at monolithforensics.com, and we'll get you help with whatever you need. So thanks for coming today. Hope to see you next week and have a great rest of your day.